The air is getting colder, the days are getting shorter, and that could only mean one thing. That's right, the annual anesthesiology and training exam is coming up soon. My name's Max Feinstein, and I'm an anesthesiology resident at the Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City, and in this video I'm going to be going over my study strategy for the annual in-training exam, as well as a study strategy that I use to pass the anesthesiology basic board licensing exam. If you find this video interesting or helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you liked it and subscribed to the channel. Let's dive in. While my knowledge of anesthesiology comes from a variety of sources, including textbooks and primary literature, clinical experience, and Anki flashcards, or is it Anki? Anyways, my preparation for exams comes entirely off of doing practice questions with the TrueLearn question bank. Doing a question bank is a way for you to apply what you've mostly already learned in a format that you're going to be tested in, including watching out for traps set by the test writers, which we'll get to. To that end, this video is actually sponsored by TrueLearn, which is amazing because TrueLearn is essentially the gold standard of question banks for anesthesiology and is what I already used and recommended before I started making YouTube videos. At the time of recording this video, TrueLearn has over 1,100 questions with detailed answer explanations, but the real challenge is being able to efficiently get through all of the questions to prepare for your exam. Here are the specific strategies that I use to efficiently get through the TrueLearn question bank and also have time for a YouTube channel and also to play drums in a band that's tentatively called 5 AM Vasospasm, but that's beyond the scope of this video. The first area where it's really easy to lose a lot of efficiency in getting through a test or a practice question is just reading the actual question stem. The traditional way, of course, is just reading word for word everything that's in the question stem in order from start to finish. Performs the results in the image below. Two sets of troponins are. As an alternative, I would recommend starting with the very last sentence of the question stem, which tends to be the actual question itself. By reading that question, you can prime yourself to actually start thinking about the information that you're going to need to answer the question before you've finished reading the question stem. Different question writers have different amounts of fluff that they like to interject into their question stems. So starting with the very last sentence and understanding what the actual question is a great way for you to just cut out as much of that fluff as possible as you dive in to then reading over the question stem. After reading the question stem, one of the traps that the test writers generally want you to walk right into is looking at the answer choices and being tempted by the one that sounds like it's right, but it's actually the incorrect answer. The strategy that I use to try and avoid this trap is to attempt to answer the question after I've read the stem, but before I look through the answer choices. It's really tempting to use the answer choices as a way to sort of gear up your mind to think about what the right answer may be, but the reality is that the answer choices end up being an anchoring bias that can intentionally take you in the wrong direction. So after you've read the question stem, if you come up with what you intuitively think the answer is, then you can read the answer choices and see which one is closest to what you had in mind. I realize this sounds like it might not work, but let me prove that it actually does. Go take a look in your question bank software and see how many times you have changed from the correct answer to the incorrect answer, and how much of that do you think was because you were influenced by the trap that the test writers wanted you to walk into. A high-quality question bank like TrueLearn is going to have very detailed answer explanations as well as explanations for incorrect answers. But the challenge is being able to efficiently get through those explanations, and the temptation, because it's just easy, is to sit and read from top to bottom the entire answer explanation for every question that you do. I don't recommend doing this. How many times have you found yourself just reading through an answer explanation only to get to the end and realize that you have absorbed none of it? To more efficiently get through answer explanations, I would recommend skipping over entirely the explanations for questions that you very confidently got correct and just briefly glance at the summary that's at the bottom of the explanation to make sure that it is congruent with your understanding of the material. I literally wouldn't spend more than 10 seconds looking at the answer explanation summary for something that I confidently got correct. For questions that you weren't totally confident about, whether or not you got them correct or incorrect, I'd recommend reading the entire bottom line summary, as well as skimming through the rest of the detailed answer explanation. And for questions that you were entirely unsure about, I'd recommend reading the entirety of the answer explanation, as well as considering reviewing the actual textbook material on the topic. Among the things that I spend an unnecessary amount of time doing, like re-recording takes of YouTube videos, is trying to decide whether or not I should go through a question bank randomly or by subject matter. Over the years, I've found that if an exam is coming up, then it's most helpful for me to go through TrueLearn in random order to mimic what the exam is going to be like. On the other hand, if I don't have an exam coming up and I'm just going through rotations during the year, then I use the TrueLearn question bank based on category of what subspecialty I'm rotating through. While there are some residents who can look at a textbook and remember the entire thing after seeing it only once, chances are those aren't the residents who are watching videos about how to study for exams. So if you are like me and the majority of other residents, then it does take some time and repetition to be able to learn the material in a way that can be easily recalled for a test. To that end, I highly encourage you to make flashcards as you go through TrueLearn and make sure to capture all of the material that you weren't 100% certain about. The other important part of this equation is, of course, reviewing those flashcards. So it's important to make time throughout the course of the days and weeks leading up to the exam to review the material that you got wrong. Then as you get closer to the exam and you've already completed your first pass of TrueLearn, you can go back and redo the questions that you've gotten incorrect in order to make sure that you've really cemented that knowledge before exam day. If you found this video helpful, check out this video I made where I go through all of the study resources that I use for my clinical rotations in residency. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.